Hello everyone. So this workshop discusses poster presentations for both undergraduate research and internships. We will talk about presentation guidelines as well as general content rules. Please keep in mind that all content decisions should be made in consultation with your course instructor or mentor. And today we're just going to talk about overall general rules. So, when do you make a poster? The purpose of a research or internship poster is to summarize the experience for an audience that might not be familiar with the field. If attending a conference, either on campus for Port Day or off campus, presentations are often in either oral or poster format. A poster is a way to communicate your topic in a short and concise format, and it usually includes two aspects: the poster itself, that's hung in a common area for conference participants to view, and a brief, usually no more than 3 to 5 minute oral explanation of your poster. At the conference, the presenter stands by the poster display at a set time so that participants can come and view the presentation and interact with you, the author. To be effective, the poster needs to be both informative and visually attractive. So let's start by discussing general content requirements. And we're going to start by talking about the content that you should see in an internship poster. And you're going to realize as I go through this presentation that there's a lot of overlap between internships and research posters, but we do see a difference in the content. Let's start with the title. Now here you're going to see overlap. You're going to want your title to communicate quite a bit in a succinct title, and you need it to communicate both the purpose and significance of your experience. A catchy title only works if it relays the overall content of what you want to present. Remember that your poster might hang in a room with hundreds of other poster presentations, and the audience has several hours or even days to wander through that room and decide if they're going to stop and read a poster or not. So your title needs to be both engaging and draw that person to your poster, that audience member, but also informative. Under that title, you need to make sure that you have clearly stated your name, and if you're a co-author, so if you have other authors that are working on this presentation as well, their names. The name of your course, especially if you're presenting at Port Day, and the name of your instructor. Next, you would have an abstract. And an abstract is just a concise summary of what was done. It really goes through your entire project, but with very little detail. So it gives the reader an idea of what's to come, but it encourages them to continue reading because they want to know more specifics. And if you have further questions about how to write an abstract, I encourage you to come to a Lighthouse Abstract workshop or view the workshop online. Next, you would have your learning objectives. And your learning objectives are going to be those 2 to 5 objectives that you plan to achieve in this experience. You went to this internship for a reason. You hope to gain knowledge and experience, and you lay out those learning objectives on your poster. A description of your key responsibilities. What did you do in this job for the semester or year that you worked as an intern? What were your responsibilities, your activities? What projects did you start and were you able to complete them? And so, not only what occurred in the big picture of your internship, but what was your day to day like? Your next bit of poster or information on your poster is going to be the application of your Virginia Wesleyan courses to this internship. Internships usually occur in your junior or senior year after you've delved deeply into a major and have an idea of how you want to apply that major to your future career. Many of the readers, especially if you're presenting this on campus, are going to wonder how the courses they're currently in or plan on taking will help them in a real world experience. And so, in this section of your poster, you need to link your relevant courses, theories, and concepts to their applications within your particular internship. What lessons did you learn? Your internship is a foray into a new profession. Did you like it? Was it what you expected? These are certainly questions that you are able to answer with your friends when you talk about your internship, and they're questions that you need to answer for the audience as well. Reflect on your experience in this section. What would you have done differently? What did you like a lot? And all posters should have an acknowledgement. Recognize the people who helped you, including the internship and especially the internship site supervisor, but also the course instructor and the mentors you've had along the way at Virginia Wesleyan. Include full titles in these acknowledgments, and if you had funding sources, you would include that in the acknowledgement section as well. The acknowledgement section allows the reader to get an idea of how you obtain this experience, especially if they're looking to do the same type of experience. And as that poster hangs on the wall, you need to make sure it looks pretty. Incorporate visual aids to illustrate your key points. This looks like a poster I want to see. She's standing on the beach. She's holding a sea turtle. I have no idea what the internship was, but it looks like fun. These visuals are going to pull in the audience. But you need to also make sure you label all your visuals. Include names, dates, locations, and photographers. Do not include photographs of children if there were children at your internship unless you've secured approval. And in fact, you really shouldn't include pictures of other individuals even if they're adults without asking them permission first. And then you need to always include your employer logo if they have one, as well as the Virginia Wesleyan logo. Well, what about the content in a research poster? Again, there's going to be some overlap, such as your project title serves the exact same purpose. It needs to communicate the significance of your project, the purpose of your research. It needs to draw people in. And of course, underneath this title, you should include the names of the student, yourself, your collaborators, the course name, and the instructor name. Again, your abstract is a concise summary of what was done. It should provide a brief synopsis of the research. It should explain the research's main problem, its method, and its key findings. In some disciplines, the findings refer to the research's argument, and in most disciplines, the abstract should be written out in full sentences. Your abstract should not be bulleted. Your introduction is going to give a brief overview of the key literature in the field. It places your research into context. And so this introduction addresses the specific questions you're asking and how previous researchers have addressed similar questions as you. The introduction might also lay out the particular research context and include your hypotheses. Your methods. This section should explain the method or approach to the research employed. It might note scholarly literature that provided a model for the research itself. The results section should explain the researcher's main results. For qualitative studies, this might be the key arguments, interpretations, or conclusions. For quantitative studies, you might review key data analyzed in the research process. All data should have figure or table headings, depending on the format. And in some cases, your research, if it is quantitative, might just be figures and tables. And if that's the case, you need to make sure that the table and figure headings give enough information for the reader to understand the data they're looking at. The discussion explains the most significant findings of the research. Keep in mind you're putting this all in a poster format, so this is going to again be concise, right? You have to give the main points and potentially encourage the reader to see your future presentation in the literature if you publish your research. In your discussion, you might suggest future areas of research based on your findings. What could be done next? In the literature cited, your citations are going to be formatted to your discipline, and it's going to be different if you're doing a humanities research project or a social science or a science project. And so, again, you would talk to your mentor, your class instructor, about the format of the literature cited. And you will once again acknowledge the people who helped you along the way. Visuals are just as important for these posters. You want to incorporate visual aids that illustrate the key points. And again, you need to label all your visuals: names, dates, locations, photographers, and citations where necessary. And you'll also want to include the VWU logo. You recognize Virginia Wesleyan University as the institution where the research was conducted by including this logo. Okay, so that's the content. What about some technical aspects? How do you go about actually making this poster? Well, usually you're going to use either PowerPoint or Google Slides to design your poster, and you have access to both of those on campus to use. So it's going to be a matter of which you feel more comfortable using. You're going to, for a printed poster, set up that slide, that individual slide, to be the size of the poster you're going to print. If you're printing the poster for Virginia Wesleyan, that poster would be 24 inches in height and between 36 and 48 inches in width, depending on how large you want it. Now, if you're presenting a poster off campus, then you have to go with the conference's formatting regulations. For a PowerPoint, to set your slide to this size, you go to the Design tab and then click on Slide Size, and you customize the size. Google Slides, it's just as easy. You would go to File, Page Setup, and then customize your slide size. Now, e-posters, you don't have to set it at a specific size, but you want it to be the correct width and height to mimic a regular poster, and so you would choose widescreen or a 16:9 aspect ratio. For your design, you want to have clearly defined sections. Your reader needs to be able to start from the beginning and get to the end, following along a path of information. So that poster needs to have defined sections and a coherence that makes sense visually to your audience. Colors are really important on a poster. The colors allow it to be or make it more engaging to the audience. But there needs to be a contrast between the background and the text colors. You do not want a dark blue background with black text. It will be really hard to read. And your colors should be pleasant. You don't want too many competing colors. You might have 5 favorite colors, but throwing them all on a poster might just be too busy. You want the audience to focus on what you're saying, not critiquing the color scheme of your poster. And you want to keep in mind that some of your audience members may be red-green colorblind. So especially if you're doing a data table, you need to try to choose colors that can be seen by all of your audience members. Font size is also very important. Someone needs to be able to stand several feet away from your poster and read it. That means that the minimum font size should be 20 points. If you find yourself decreasing and decreasing and decreasing your font size so that everything will fit on your poster, what you really need to do is cut some of your text. Your title and your name and institution should be significantly larger. The title should be around 48-point font size, and your name and institution one size smaller. What about your oral presentation that goes along with the poster? Well, because it's so short, because it's 3 or 5 minutes, you need to practice and time your presentations. You have a limited amount of time to engage your audience, and so those words need to be picked out and practiced. The length is going to be designated by the conference itself, but you're always in this oral part of the presentation. You want to be able to have the time to explain your key questions or problems and the experiences explored, whether it's research or internship. Think of it as an elevator speech. What do you want that person to learn in that short period of time? Refer to your poster throughout. So feel free to point at different aspects that you're explaining as you lead the viewer through your poster, and be prepared for questions. You're engaging your audience with a conversation when it comes to a poster, and this is the chance for that viewer to ask you those burning questions. Okay, Well, now, if you go to our website at the Lighthouse, you're going to find a template for a poster. This is just a beginning. You see, we've got the title at the top, and we've got sections clearly designated with a coherence in the color scheme. When the background is blue, our font is a shade of white, and when the background is white, our font is black. There's a coherence throughout, but clear, defined titles for each section. I'm going to show you just a couple of examples. The first example we see here, we go back to the woman with the sea turtle that looked like a lot of fun on the beach. And we see, in fact, that her internship was with the Virginia Aquarium Stranding Response, and that she had a lot of different jobs. And we know that just from looking at the pictures. She clearly was working both outside as well as inside, working with coworkers and with animals. She's got her categories in clearly defined boxes so we can find out what she was asked to do in this job, what she hoped to learn, and what lessons she did learn. We can see what classes at Virginia Wesleyan helped her with this job, and down in the acknowledgments, we can look to see what people helped her acquire this job and helped her with this whole experience. There's not a ton of words on this poster, so if you were really engaged with this poster, you might want to ask her more in-depth questions, and that's why she's standing next to the poster for that. And here's an example of a research poster. Again, we see a contrast in our colors, very defined sections. Every section is the same size in width, so we can clearly move from abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion, references, and acknowledgments. We see that the references are in a much smaller font than 24 in this case, and that sometimes occurs because there are a significant number of references. If you can't fit your references or your literature cited in, oftentimes presenters will have them printed up as a handout, and that's one way to get around that. We have some engaging figures that have already told us that this is a research poster on Canada geese, something many of you might be thinking about right now on campus as we have a thriving population of resident geese. And they were clearly looking at population control or methods of population control. Again, we see figure headings, and the figure headings are such that we understand the figures we're looking at. Now, if these posters are going to be presented as e-posters, and we certainly do have on occasion port days that are online, as well as e-posters are becoming more popular off campus as well, then you aren't going to be physically standing next to your poster to answer questions, but there will be a discussion board, and you have to make sure that you're available for questions at the set time of your poster presentation. Now, if you have any questions, I encourage you to talk to your mentor or instructor for the class that you're taking for this poster, but also come by the Lighthouse at any time. We have folks that are more than happy to help you with your poster setup and help you work through this fun job of creating an internship or research poster. Have a good day.